All right, everybody, I want to talk about this Wall Street Journal article that came out last night saying that Tesla, the board was looking for a replacement for Elon Musk as the CEO of Tesla. Tesla came out and refuted it basically a couple hours after that story broke or so. Elon Musk took to X and he said the Wall Street Journal is breaking a giant breach of ethics by saying this, especially after the board told the Wall Street Journal that this was not true. Wall Street Journal didn't include it in their piece, which seems rather weird. And I think there's a lot of interesting things to talk through there because a few things happened after that story broke that are very interesting to highlight and are also tied to the next 3, 4, 5 years of the company. When the story broke, the stock market, Tesla stock specifically, was down 4% immediately. It went down 4% after the news said that Tesla's looking to potentially replace Elon. For somebody who's been following the story as long as I have, since 2012, these kinds of storylines always go in waves. I remember stuff like this happening many times before. In 2015, when the Model X came out and the ramp was a total shit show, with the Model 3 ramp, when that was a total shit show, the taking Tesla private at 420, shit show, smoking pot on Rogan, the guy from Thailand, the joke about going bankrupt on April 1st. Now you got this whole politics thing and this whole Doge thing. For people that have been following the story, controversy around the name, controversy around Elon, controversy around Tesla is nothing new. It's really nothing new. The magnitude, the size, and how many people are exposed to that controversy is dramatically different, especially now, where basically Elon Musk, when you ask a random person on the street who Elon Musk is, I'm sure, 90 to 95% of the people have heard that name. They know what that is. Similar thing with maybe the word Tesla, whereas before few people really knew what Tesla was or what they made or what the whole shtick was. Now that name has more recognition because of all the terrorist attacks, the domestic terrorist attacks against the dealerships and people's cars and stuff. People with their Cybertrucks, people drawing stuff on them, right? I mean, it's been completely bananas. And so this time is very, very different because of the size of it, because of how much attention the story has gotten. So a story like this is not really new for the story, but it is very new how many people it activates and how many people are out there that are following this closely. Now, what's interesting about the story itself is that even though, let's say, it's mostly to completely false, it's interesting to talk through succession planning for the company because that is something that Tesla does have, which is keyman risk. Elon Musk is the head of the company of Tesla. Elon Musk is like it or not, is the face of the company at this present time. You've seen the company try to put Franz and Lars and other executives in front of media to talk about the cars and all that stuff. You have the head of the semi team that's doing a bunch of presentations and shows and whatnot to try and get people more familiar with the technology, so on and so forth. You can see that Tesla has been trying to put more and more people in front of the camera. And given all the different things that have happened with the company, the attacks on the dealerships, the owners, the question of keyman risk and succession planning, I don't think has ever been more relevant to the story. And so I would not be surprised in the slightest if Tesla has started some sort of succession planning with Elon. Maybe not in the last month, maybe not during Doge, but maybe for the last, year, maybe last couple of years. Especially as the company is geared to release their robotaxi product, their robotaxi network in Austin this June. Tesla just put out a teaser saying June 1st is 31 days away, which is when the company is planning on releasing the robotaxi network in Austin. For those that are not familiar, it's basically going to be something very similar to a Waymo or an Uber. I just waved to another Cybertruck. It's like the Wrangler wave, people that have Wranglers, they wave at each other. Anyway. But this is going to take the company to a whole different level as long as they execute, right? There's always this execution question, making sure that the company does actually deliver on a fully unsupervised, you can sit in the back seat, nobody in the driver's seat, drive around, et cetera, et cetera. That's what they're going to be launching here in June. We'll see if they have safety drivers or not to start. Even though Texas doesn't require safety drivers behind the wheel of a self-driving car, that's where the company wants to go. They make every single one of their cars from their factories with the capability of being unsupervised, where somebody can just fall asleep in the back seat or in the front seat or wherever. And the technology that's being built for that is also going to be used with a human or robot that they're working on. That ramp is going to be much slower than most people, I think, expect, at least for the short term. That robot is going to take the company to new heights is the goal of the company. They're basically going to be disrupting physical labor. They're going to use the same underlying technology that the cars are using to drive themselves, for the robot to work on its own, to walk, to manipulate objects, to use tools, et cetera, et cetera. And as that product becomes more and more popular, more and more useful, they'll start with internal use cases. Tesla will in their factories. They'll start selling that to other businesses where they can create very clear delineation and separation between man and machine, right? So that there's no safety occurrences. And maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years down the road, when Tesla feels like there is basically zero chance of this thing falling on someone's dog or baby and the worst happening, right? Then they'll start selling it to customers like you and I. But the underlying sort of like next wave of the company, sort of that huge thing that's going to take the company from a car maker to a robotics maker to an AI company to almost like an infrastructure company behind transportation and energy. And I think in my head, that's how I think about Tesla. They're a infrastructure company. They're not really a autonomous car company. They are building things that are foundational to civilization. As those products come to life and they start generating a ton of cash and cash flow for the company, there's an opportunity for Elon to step away from his role as CEO and engage more similarly to what he does at his other companies like SpaceX, Neuralink, X and XAI, where he's not really the CEO. He's not the guy that's doing all those tasks that are related to that position. He can be more of the visionary, set the vision of the company, and then work on the engineering. Elon's greatest asset by far, even his biggest detractors and his biggest haters will agree with this, I hope. And if they don't, I don't think they live on the same planet that we do. His greatest asset by far is engineering. He understands how the real world can be manipulated into things, into objects. And he knows how to apply that same thought process to the digital world as well, with companies like XAI and X. But Tesla is completely different because Elon's the CEO of Tesla. He literally does all the CEO tasks, plus he seems to be the marketing arm, plus he's an engineer, plus he's the visionary. And Elon himself has openly said he hates that job. This should not be new for anyone who follows the story closely. Multiple times he has said that, he hates being CEO, but he doesn't think there's anyone else out there that could do the job, right? But at some point, that has to be the case. You can't continue doing a job that you hate forever, especially if Tesla executes and they get the robotaxi network up and running and ramping quickly, and the bot starts generating cash flow by being useful internally and being useful for business customers and individuals like you and I, then this company is going to be generating hundreds of billions of dollars in cash flow every year, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, whatever the timeline is. But if they're successful, this is a unbelievably well-oiled machine. And on top of that, Elon has been very vocal about wanting more control of the company. So currently he has about 13% shares in the company. The whole Delaware thing where the judge she feels like she's capitalism, so she gets to decide how much people get paid. Very, very weird ruling still to this day. He has been very vocal about wanting a bigger percentage of the company. He wants 25%. And that's because of the AI piece. He feels that if he's going to be building stuff for Tesla where they're going to be doing AI stuff, he wants to make sure he has enough control over the company so that he can dictate the decisions around the artificial intelligence decisions that the company makes. And this is a person who is very forward thinking, very sort of in the future, trying to understand what the future is going to look like and then make decisions from now to try and create that future outcome that he's looking for. And so it would be extremely unlikely that somebody like him would actually be replaced by Tesla. It really doesn't make any sense to me that Elon will be pushed out of the company because of the current climate, let's say. I think what's much more likely is that Tesla has been working on, hopefully for some time, to come up with a succession plan so that once Elon wants to step away from the CEO role and wants to take on of a more visionary / engineering role with the company and let somebody that's better equipped or more willing or capable of being the CEO of a company at the stage where Tesla is now a fully robotics company, that to me makes a lot more sense. And I would not be surprised if that's happening. I think people that think that Elon's going to be at Tesla forever as the CEO of the company, there's way too many clues out there saying that that's not going to be the case. Now, that doesn't mean that he's going to step down from that role in the next year or the next 2 years, but by the end of the decade, sure. And we've talked about that on the channel too. Like it is likely that Elon will step away from Tesla at the end of the decade once the bots ramped up and once robotaxis ramped up. Especially as Starship is starting to send rockets to Mars and You have the whole build out of Mars happening. It's going to be happening in the next 5 years or so. SpaceX is going to kick that off, which is extremely exciting. At that point, you're going to have millions of Teslas, tens of millions of Teslas potentially, driving themselves all over the world. You're going to have humanoid robots doing work in factories, doing work in warehouses, doing work outside, doing, helping out people with elderly care, doing your laundry, cleaning up your house, vacuuming the floors, doing the dishes. And the world's going to look very, very different. And that's what we covered a lot on this channel, is like getting our head wrapped around what that's going to look like, and covering one of the foremost people, the one individual that's at the head of it, creating that world. And it's up to you to decide if that's a world you want to live in or not, if you're happy with that world or unhappy with that world, if you think that's a good thing or a bad thing. But from my perspective, I'm trying to understand where this is going. And with the advent of autonomous cars like the Cybertruck that's been driving itself while I've been recording this video, with humanoid robots that are going to dramatically alter what it means to work in the labor force, the person at the forefront of all of it, stepping back from one of its biggest efforts to change the world, to me, seems completely idiotic, to be honest. And so it shouldn't be a surprise that people, are not trusting of places like Wall Street Journal and other legacy media outlets. There shouldn't be no surprise why legacy media and mainstream media in general has had such a gigantic reputation hit, is because they don't really talk about what is happening. They just want to maximize emotional reactions towards stories that they know is going to get them traffic, and they know that if they paint it in a negative light, they'll maximize that traffic. That's what it seems like to me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.